Hello everyone, welcome to Reboot and Rise with MLR. So now we know like how to define the variables and we know the operators. So the next one is like let's see like using these operators and using the variables and the data inside the variables. How do we control the flow of execution? So what does it mean is like we're going to talk about something called as control statements. So in general, when we write a program and where it has some statements, so the statements will be executed line by line. We call it as sequential execution. And if I want to control, like maybe I want to skip, like maybe I want to skip this particular statement, or from this statement, I want to inform like Jamie, hey, go from this line to directly this line. So I want to make sure like to jump from one line to other line. So if we want to get that kind of execution, we call it as random execution. So to achieve this random execution based on some logic, we need something called as control statements. Okay, so by default, JVM executes the code sequentially, that means line by line. But if you want to random execution, we need something called as a control statements. And if you take any real-time applications like e-commerce, where we need to execute the code based on some decisions and some loops. Okay, so in order to get that one, we need something called as control statement help for managing this flow of execution. Let's see like what are the control statements that we have in Java. So we have mainly like categorized into three categories. One is conditional. So in conditional we have a if else, switch. Then we have a loops, that is for, while, do while, for each. Then we have a branching, break, continue, and return. Let's start with the first one, conditional, like if, else, if, nested. Okay. So if else statement, I mean, this is like based on some condition, a particular statement will be executed or skipped, or a group of statements will be executed or skipped. Let's see like what is the syntax for this if or else, if else, or nested if. So I have a simple statement if based on this condition whether this statement will be executed or not. If this is true, then this statement will be executed, otherwise this will not be executed. So imagine like I have a statement here, and then I have a statement. So in this case, the JVM will be executing from top to bottom, and this will be executed, this also executed, but this one will be based on this condition true, this will be executed, otherwise it will continue executing these statements. Now what if I want to execute block of statements or group of statements if a condition is true? That case, we go with something called as a block. So if condition, then all those statements, group of statements, I will be writing from this curly braces to this curly brace. We call it as a block. Suppose I want to execute some condition. So I want to execute some statement. So based on this condition, if it is true, execute these statements. If this is false, I want to execute this one. That case, we go with if and else. Similarly, if condition is true, if I want to execute a block of statements, I'll go with this open curly brace, close curly brace, and I will write all these statements. How many statements you want to write, you can write. If this is false, if the condition is false, then this group of statements will be executed. Block means a group of statements that are enclosed between this open curly brace and close curly brace. And the next one we have is if, else, if, else. So what does it mean is if condition is true, execute this block. If it is false, it will go to else if check for a condition. If this is true, this will be executed, otherwise this will be executed. So it will go one by one. First it will check this condition. If true, go here, else go for checking this condition. If this condition is true, execute this one, else it will go to the else block. Let's see some example. So assume like I have a cart item, a variable, and whose value is 3. I want to check something called as if statement. So I'll go with something like if cart item is greater than 0, and I want to execute this particular statement. a simple statement. So now in this case, 3 greater than 0, yes, it is true, and then this statement will be executed. Now let's go to the next. I'm like where I'm just checking like the cart has any items or not. So if cart is greater than 0, then that case I can say like the cart has items. Now I want to check like a block, if block of statements. So where my real-time example is like PDP stock check. So I'm going to take a variable called as int stock, and my scenario is check if the selected product is available or not. So what I will do is like I'll go with if stock is greater than 0, then I'll say it's in stock and ready to ship. And now this is a block of statement. See, if this is true, then the JVM will be executed this block, these two statements. And the next example is if else statement. My real time scenario is going to be I'm going to check for a guest user. So I'm going to take a variable called as is guest equal to true. So what I will do is like I want to check if the user is guest. I want to show like login to checkout, else proceed. So I'll go with if is guest, yes it is true, then this will be executed. Else in case if my value is false, then it will go to else block. Okay. Now if I want to check with if else block, maybe like checking for some free shipping, check on CDP. So this CDP, PDP, these are the acronyms that we use in e-commerce, online e-commerce platform. So I'll take a variable called as a category total 120. And my scenario is like I want to show free shipping message if a category is based on total exceeds threshold. And how I go with is like I'll check for if category total is greater than 100, greater than or equal to 100, and execute this statement. In case if this is false, then execute this block. In this case, category total is 120, so 120 is greater than 100, then this block will be executed. Okay. In case if this is something like a 90, your input value is 90, so my category total is 90 is greater than or equal to 100, it's a false, then it will go to else condition. Okay. Now let's check like if else. So I'm going to check something called as filtering on a given price. So I'll take a variable called as a price equal to 599, and my scenario is like I want to display the price category based on my product price. So if it is less than 100, less than 500, I mean do some operation. If it is less than 100, do some operation. If it is less than 500, do some otherwise do something else. So I'll go with if price is less than 100. I mean if this is my input variable, do this work. Else if I'm going to check this condition. If this is true, then execute this statement. If this one and if this one is both are false, then this statement will be executed. So in this case, 599.99 less than 100, no, false. So again it will go for here, 599 less than 500, false. So this will, in this case, this statement will be executed. Okay. Now let's see like the if else block. So where I'm going to give some rating. So based on the rating, we're going to perform some operation. So I'm taking one variable called as a rating equal to 4, and basically I want to show some feedback based on the user rating for a given product. So I'll go with like if rating equal to 5, then I'll say like excellent, thank you for shopping, or thank you for 5-star rating. In case if the rating is not 5, if it is greater than 3 or greater than or equal to 3, then I'll show like thanks, glad you like it. Then anything apart from this one, like anything else, then I'll go for sorry to hear that, we will work out to improve. So in this case, this is not equal to 4, so this is a false. Then it will go to else if statement, 4 greater than or equal to 3. It's not equal, but it's greater than, so this statement, this condition is true, this case like this statement will be executed, then it will go if there is any other statements. Okay, if any other statements are there, they will be executed here. Okay, now the last one we have is nested if. That means like writing if, else if, whatever the combination we have seen inside the if block or else block. Okay, or else if block. So in this case, like I'm taking a real-time scenario, like I want to add some add to cart logic in my product detail page. So I'm going to take a variables stock equal to 5, and then whether the particular user is logged in user or not. I mean, like we have a different kind of users like logged in user, guest user, something like that. So based on these two variables data, I'm going to write this nested if. So my scenario is like I want to allow the user to add, I mean, like user to add to cart based on stock and the user login status. So I'm going to check first if the stock is greater than 0. Then I'll enter into this if block. So now 5 is greater than 0. The JVM will enter into this block. But again inside, see, this is starting here and this is ending here. That means this is entire block. So if this condition is true, this highlighted red one, this block will be executed. In case example, if stock equal to 0, 0 greater than 0, it's a false, then it will go for here. It will go here and then execute the statement. But in this case, 5 greater than 0, it is true. It will enter inside. Now again, see, I'm writing again inside if block, I'm writing if else. This is called as nested if else. So the JVM will come here. It will check if is logged in user. Is logged in is a false. That means this is a false. This statement will not be executed. It will come to else block. This statement will be executed. In case if this is a true, then this statement will be executed. So once this statement will be executed, the JVM will go from this line to, there is nothing else to execute in this block. It will go to the last. Okay. So it will go out of this if else block, and any other statements are there, it will execute that. Okay. That's it about the if and if else and all the combinations that we have. So we'll stop it here today. I'll continue the rest of other control statements in the next video. Until then, keep coding, keep learning. Thank you.